Today we are going to be looking at some SAT scores. Basically, I was just browsing the internet, came across this website, and there's some pretty concerning things I noticed just diving into the table here. So let's take a look. So first thing to notice, this is the SAT scores, the average from the years 1972 to 2024. Specifically, I want to call your attention to there is a big difference because they changed the way the test works starting in 2017. And then we also have some ethnicities over here that's going to be kind of showing how different groups have performed over time. So first, let's dive into this. One of the first things you notice is we start in 1972 is math. Immediately, it went downwards, right? And actually, it stayed down, getting quite low from the peak. 492 from 509, all the way keeps happening until 1997 when we see math hit 511, finally beating 509. So first right off the bat is that this could maybe stop some fears we might have if we see scores going down on a 5 or 6 year basis. I mean, they went down for 25 years here to there, and seems like things are fine. Seems like generally there's maybe this is just kind of like a high point, and the average generation is going to be more like this, or a little bit lower, and we're kind of just like we've reached as smart as people get, and this is just what our scores are going to be. That could totally be possible, and there could be like no reason for concern about this, but maybe not. So going from 1997, we saw a pretty decent improvement. It keeps kind of like meandering upwards until 2005, and this is the peak. 520 is the peak here for math scores. After that, see it goes down. So initially, I did see this part first. So I saw the scores going down until the last year that they were tracked under this system, and I was a bit concerned. But then I saw this 25-year trough, and I was a little bit relieved. I mean, I guess that could be bad because you could see, oh, things can be bad for 25 years. It kind of depends on how you look at it. And then I think one of the big things you'll notice is you're looking at these 2 years, you go, whoa, they are cooking the books. So like the way they changed it was it used to have three big sections, and they got redesigned and now has two. Well, technically it had two sections, and then writing came in, I guess in 2006, they started having the data for writing, and then they switched it back down to two. So one of the things that we could have seen is that this new system just brought a lot of attention to the math, right? Because there used to be three subjects. There's these three subjects you had to focus on if you were studying for the SAT. Now you just have two. So maybe more time was spent on this one. And that I think that could probably explain a little bit, as well as just it would have been in the news a lot. More people would have been realizing they need to study for the SAT. So that definitely is a factor. But that said, this is still an insane. Look at this is a 19-point difference. We haven't seen a year-on-year difference of that much, of even half. Like the biggest year-on-year drop is usually probably right here, like 7 points. It's about the biggest difference you see on any one given year. Most years it's 1 or 2 points. It's very similar to the year before it. Look, this is a little bit outlier. That's 4 points, but usually it's very similar. So I think we can kind of safely assume that this new system of accounting overcounts by like 15 points. And here's where we get to the most concerning point of all. So they started cooking the books, right? And at first it's good. We see a good number, an even better number, but then it starts going down. And really you could argue this is because of COVID. 2020 comes. After that, it kind of plummets. I mean, obviously there's a good year here, but 505 under the new system, this is probably boosting us by like 15 to 19 points. If that's true, then we're at like 490. That would be a new all-time low, and very quickly that we achieved a new all-time low. The low is 492. If we're at 490, that's only taking 15 points off, right? So if we say this added 19 points here, if we minus 15 points, that's 490. So if we minus 19 points, 486, that's 6 points lower than the all-time low. And this happened very quickly. This at least took like a little bit of time. We at least saw a decade of kind of slowly declining down here, versus this is like half a decade. So this is I guess this is 8 years, but or one, yeah. But this is still it's very concerning how quickly it's going down. And basically this new system is hiding how much lower it's getting. So also we can look at the writing. Critical writing is another thing that can be quite concerning when you look at it. The highest year on record, and it's not even close, is the first year that it was tracked, at least by, I don't know if this is the first year that that the SAT existed, but it's at the very least like this website is the earliest date that it has. That's insane. Uh, 7 point drop immediately, and then it just goes down from there. And look at this. I mean, it's like in free fall. It's pretty like, it's in free fall until it reaches about 500, the low 500s, and then it kind of holds steady there. But even as soon as like they moved this out, clearly attention got taken, was kind of separated because now we're heavily in the 500s, and now we see 400s for the first time ever. Like we saw only 1 year with 2 years of the 400, for decades until we had this extra until we split writing outside of critical reading or added that to the test, and then we see this start to tumble into the 400s, and now getting the 494. That's getting lower than it is, closer to 490 than it is to 500 here. And this score is going down too. This one, 497, first year, its best year, and then it just plummets from there. So math does seem concerning because 2005 we peaked and we're in a recent free fall. That's like 2 points of concern. Um, Critical reading is an even bigger one. It seems like we've been in a free fall for at least 50 years. Who knows? Maybe in 1960 this was 580. Maybe that number was way higher, and we're just doing even worse than we think we are. So this is very concerning. U.S. data over the SAT. We can see the ethnicities. Looking at this is less interesting. Honestly, there's less interesting data going on here, but we can see that Asians performed really well or improved a lot. Sub 1100 to over 1200. Native Americans are doing pretty bad. They dropped a full 100 points. Again, this is only since 2007. This is less. This doesn't go back as far. Um, Africans, they did better and then worse. One thing that you can kind of see, it's kind of all over the board. One thing you can definitely see is that 2019 to 2020 had a massive effect. This group declined, 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 this group declined. This is the only one that improved is the no response. One thing that I already knew about that a lot of people probably did know about as well is the PISA scores. So let's take a look at this. Oops, I didn't capitalize things, so it's not going to like that. Here we go. PISA scores peaked, I think famously peaked in like 2012, and this is where now we've been having the reverse Flynn effect. Previously we had the Flynn effect. Oh wow, you can just look by country. Dang, Canada's doing pretty good. China, whoa. So I guess dark color is good. They're the highest. It's pretty crazy. Oh, Japan. Oh, Korea's got to be. No, it's not Korea. Oh, I guess South Korea's not as high as I would have thought. Taiwan's doing pretty good. Some parts of Europe are doing better than others. This is obviously just where we are now. We want to see the trend. But PISA scores peaked in 2012. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find that data super easily. But basically, they called it the Flynn effect, where every year the new humans are smarter than the previous humans. PISA by the way, it measures math, science, and I think reading, because those things can be fairly objectively measured. Yeah, so basically the Flynn effect is that every generation of humans is smarter than the previous generation of humans. And that got disrupted in 2012 when we actually have seen the reverse Flynn effect where humans are getting dumber and dumber. So obviously there's a lot of different problems and they can't have the same, they're appearing at different times and in different ways, whether they affect math or reading or science, I suppose. And so because of that, we can kind of presume that these are a series of problems that are kind of combining rather than like one specific thing that's going to be a scapegoat, that's going to be a problem. We don't have to look at it as, is it social media or is it phones or is it microplastics or is it AI? It could be actually a lot of things colliding together. That's actually one thing that scares me. We haven't talked about yet is AI. We probably aren't really see much AI. Obviously, this is when ChatGPT had that really famous year. They got 100 billion downloads in like 5 days. Um, so this definitely could be because, I mean, actually looking at this, COVID didn't seem that bad. Like 529 for the pre-COVID to 521. Maybe this 3 year decline here is actually AI, but probably not. In my mind, I think probably 2025 data will show AI more, 2026 to 2027. That's when we'll really start to see some problems arise. But the main thing is like kids who are in like second, third, fourth grade who are going to never write essays. They're never going to go through the critical thinking that it takes to write an essay because they're going to use AI the entire time. And how much is that going to cook your brain when you're so little and your brain is gelling so much and it needs so much more work? How is that going to affect you? How much it affects someone who's a sophomore, junior, senior in high school? It's going to be a lot less because they're already towards the end of their educational platform. So that's pretty concerning. But I think generally we just gotta this has got to be a more of a conversation. Like as society, we got to be looking at this. We got to be paying attention. Like we're getting dumber. We have to solve this problem before we're too dumb to solve it. The purpose of this video is to kind of get conversations going, to start conversations, to get people talking, so that we can actually explore some of these issues and maybe find some solutions. Here are the main questions I kind of see that arose from those two websites. So first, why did math scores experience that 25-year trough from 1972 to 1997? I got no idea what the heck was going on back here. I wasn't even close to alive. So yeah, it's kind of strange. Um, why has critical reading declined so sharply since 1972? When did it actually peak? Because again, the highest number was in 72 that we saw. So who knows? Maybe it was in 1940 or 50 or 1800s when, for all we know, that it peaked. Probably not. Most people weren't very literate then. Usually it was measured in like literacy rates. But that's very absurd. It's very unfortunate. How much did the 2017 SAT redesign actually boost scores by? I don't know if we can ever get a clean comparison. However, ideally we would, because now we're seeing scores at about 505. We're kind of wondering, would this be all-time lows on the regular, on the old SAT or not? Or is it more dynamic than that? Like maybe it boosted a lot in the high years, but maybe it actually is more accurate on the low years. Who knows? Or maybe there was like another soft redesign. Like we gotta find some answers there. Why are scores dropping so rapidly since 2022? Obviously, my hypothesis has to do with kind of ChatGPT here. If that's, but is that true? Is that even, that's just kind of a guess? We should have some more answers, more hypotheses. We should test things. We need to be looking into this very imminently, because this is a quick drop happening in a number of years. So this needs to be very soon that we look into that. And then, why did PISA scores peak in 2012? I didn't really show the data for that. You can obviously Google it. It's a pretty well-known thing. But yeah, why did PISA scores peak in 2012? This is math, science, and what did I say? Reading, I think. Yeah, math, science, and reading internationally. So internationally, we're seeing in 2012. The rest of this is all American, essentially, these first five. And then this is international. So why is 2012 the sticking point? I know Cal Newport, he's the one who I heard about this from. Cal Newport thinks that it has to do with smartphones and with social media. Is he right? I don't know. Let's get these questions. Let's get some answers going. Let's get some theories going in the comments. Make your own videos. I'm very curious about basically these 6 questions here.